Energy in the room, yeah.
Recording.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Today is Thursday, June 1st, 2023. I'd like to ask members who are calling in by phone to identify themselves prior to calling the meeting to order. The meeting of the Regional Council is now called to order. That was quick. Supervisor Plancarte.
It would be an honor. Please join me. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, we have a quorum.
Mr. President, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. We're holding this meeting in compliance with the Brown Act rules related to telephonic and video conference meetings. SCAG offices are open to members of the public. Let me turn that down. Members of the public you may participate in person. Instructions providing public comment have been provided in advance and are also included in the agenda packet. Just a reminder to reduce background noise. Please ensure that your microphone is muted when not in use. Now it's time for a public comment. Comments received prior to the meeting and comments for matters not on the agenda. I will now open the public comment period of the meeting. This is time for members of the public to offer comment on matters that are within SCAG's jurisdiction but not listed on the agenda. Staff have received any written comments after the deadline of 5 p.m. on Wednesday, May 31st.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. No comments received before or after the deadline.
Okay. Do we have anybody wishing to speak at this time?
Mr. President, I do not see any raised hands from the public.
Thank you. I will now close the public comment period for matters not listed on the agenda. This is time to review and prioritize agenda items. Do we have anybody that wants to readjust the agenda? Seeing none. Go to action items. Number 1, SEQA addendum number 4 to connect. I'm sorry. SEQA addendum number 4 to connect SoCal 2020 programmatic environmental impact report, state clearinghouse number 201-901-1061. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Mr. President, we have not received any speaker cards for item 1.
Thank you. Now call on Warren Whitaker, Department Manager of Integrated Planning and Programming, to provide the presentation.
Good afternoon. So let me set up for a second since I think I will be here for a little bit. All right. Good afternoon. As the president indicated, I am Warren Whitaker and I serve as the manager of Integrated Planning and Programming Department here at SCAG. And this presentation will address items 1 and 2 on your agenda today. Let me just. While the primary focus of this presentation is to get RC approval on the addendum to the PEIR and approval of the amendments and associated transportation conformity determinations, it is also an opportunity to reflect on the fact that it's a big deal that we're talking about these actions today. The SCAG region has been under a transportation conformity lockdown since August 15th, 2021. If it was 2001, it'd be a really big deal. Which means that we've been under a transportation conformity lockdown for 655 days, for those that are counting, like myself. All right, let me just make sure I'm on that slide. All right. We started soliciting needed project modifications from the County Transportation Commissions, or CTCs, more than 14 months ago. Here are a few examples of the 215 projects with modifications included in the Connect SoCal 2020 Amendment 3. All told, between Connect SoCal 2020 Amendment 3 and the 2023 Federal Transportation Improvement Program, or FTIP, Consistency Amendment 2303, there are approximately $30 billion worth of projects included here. In addition to the changes in completion year, scope, and cost, through these amendments, we have been able to accommodate programming of surface transportation block grant and congestion mitigation and air quality funds by the CTCs before June 30th. The importance of this ability to program those before June 30th will be more important when we talk about item 3 in a few minutes. In accordance with the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, staff evaluated the project modifications to determine if the changes would result in new impacts or a substantial increase in existing impacts. We're happy to report that the included addendum fulfills CEQA requirements. In addition to CEQA, the amendments are also required to meet federal transportation conformity requirements. This slide highlights the actions and accomplishments that have been made to fully resolve the transportation conformity lockdown. And I will note here, instead of August 2022, is actually August 2021. And if you caught that before I said it, points to you. It took extraordinary cooperation and collaboration involving the management, legal, and planning staff of multiple agencies to achieve this. Staff would like to thank all the involved staff from our many federal, state, and regional air and transportation partner agencies who have played a role in resolving the transportation conformity lockdown. We would like to extend a special thanks and recognition to the senior management of the South Coast Air Quality Management District, the California Air Resources Board, and the United States Environmental Protection Agency for their strategic leadership. We also appreciate the valuable guidance provided by the legal counsel of these three agencies. Furthermore, we'd like to express our utmost gratitude to the planning staff of the three agencies for their exceptional dedication and tremendous amount of work, particularly under the accelerated schedule. And if anyone would want to talk offline about how monumental this achievement is, it's worth a further conversation. With the lifting of the transportation conformity lockdown, staff is able to demonstrate that the plan and FTIP amendments meet all federal conformity requirements as listed on this slide. Following RC action today, we will forward to state and federal agencies for final approval. We'd also like to express our gratitude to the CTCs, Caltrans, and our federal transportation partners. The applicable documents mentioned in my presentation can be found via the link shown here. Now, this is important because this is where it starts to turn over to you. Pursuant to CEQA, Addendum 4 to the Connect SoCal 2020 PEIR must be approved prior to the Connect SoCal 2020 Amendment 3 and 2023 FTIP Consistency Amendment 2303. Hence, you have 2 votes. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Oops, thank you. I'll entertain comments from members of the RC. Just a reminder, if you're a member of this body is attending remotely, but not in a noticed location on the agenda, they may observe but not participate in any discussion of the voting body. I'll take comments in the following order: speakers, in-person speakers, then remote locations, then virtual raised hands. Everybody in the audience who wishes to speak at this time. Seeing none, any of the remote locations? Yeah, let me just ask one more. Anybody with a virtually raised hand? Nope. Okay,
All right. Attorney says I can't do 1 and 2. I'll move 1. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Blancarta seconds.
okay. Okay. Roll call, please.
Damian Alexander,
Here.
just to confirm that is a yes vote for item number 1 for Damian Alexander. Thank you. Cindy Allen,
Aye.
Valerie Amezcua,
Yes.
Adele Andrade Stadler,
Yes.
Constantine Anthony,
Yes.
Elizabeth Becerra,
Yes.
Gary Boyer,
Yes.
Art Brown,
Aye.
Wendy Bucknam,
Aye.
Margaret Clark, Jenny Crosswhite,
Aye.
Rick Dennison, Keith Ike,
Yes.
Margaret Finley,
Yes.
Claudia Fermetta, James Gaisley,
Aye.
Ryan Goodell,
Aye.
Marshall Goodman,
Aye.
Kurt Hagman, Jan Harnick,
Yes.
Mark Henderson,
Yes.
Laura Hernandez,
Yes.
Mike Judge,
Yes.
Joe Kalmick.
Here.
Just to confirm, is that a yes for item number 1?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Trish Cowie, Trish Cowie, thank you. Kathleen Cowie,
Yes.
Lauren Clayman, Lauren Clayman, Linda Krupa. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, was that a yes for, thank you. And was that also a yes for Lauren Clayman? Vianney Lopez,
Yes.
Clint Lorimore,
Aye.
Ken Mann,
Man, yes.
thank you. Steve Manos,
Yes.
Ray Marquez,
Here. Yes.
Andrew Maciel,
Yes.
Casey McKeon,
No.
Lauren Meister,
Yes.
Dennis Michael,
Yes.
thank you. Maricela Nava,
Yes.
Maria Nava Frolic,
Yes.
Oscar Ortiz,
Yes.
Luis Blancarte,
Yes.
Neithia Raman, yes. Gil Rebollar,
Yes.
Rocky Rhodes,
Yes.
Celeste Rodriguez, Ali Saleh,
Yes.
Tim Sandoval,
Yes.
Andrew Sorega,
Yes.
Suli Sorrow,
Aye.
Zach Schwank,
Yes.
David Shapiro,
Yes.
Marty Siminoff,
Yes.
Jose Luis Solache,
Yes.
Donald Wagner,
Wagner, aye.
thank you. Alan Wapner,
Yes.
Frank Yokoyama.
Yes.
Mr. President, the motion for item 1 passes with 51 votes yes, 1 vote no, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you. Now go to item 2, Connect SoCal 2020 Amendment 3 and the 2023 Federal Transportation Improvement Program. Consistency Amendment 23-03, including the associated transportation conformity determinations. Do you have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Mr. President, we have not received any speaker cards.
Thank you. I'll call on Warren Whitaker, Department Manager, Integrated Planning and Program, to provide the presentation. Welcome back.
Make sure I'm on the mic. So this, as I indicated at the top of the presentation, this is actually, the presentation was combined for the two, and I don't know if IT can bring that back up. This is actually your second vote. So the first vote was on the CEQA because it's a project, you have to clear it from CEQA first. That was the first vote. And the second vote is actually on the amendments, both to the plan and to the FTIP. So another roll call vote. And it's specifically on the amendment now that you've approved the environmental document. Thank you.
So, Mr. President, if I may, just to sort of bring us all up to speed, as Mr. Whitaker has just mentioned, he offered the presentations on item
Yes.
1 and 2 first. The item 1 was voted on separately as needs to be under law. He's now going to make the presentation on item 3. And then at that point, after that presentation is made, if the regional council would like, you can vote on items 2, 3, and even the consent calendar, depending on your will, Mr. President. So the presentation now on item 3
Yes.
and then a motion.
Okay. Presentation first on the motion. Mr. Whitaker, you're on again. On
Thank
again,
you. I
off again.
appreciate being on my toes, literally and figuratively. Did you want to call if there were any public comments on this before I started the
I
presentation?
did already.
Okay, perfect. Again, I'm trying to be on my toes.
Me too.
All right, let's go. So this presentation isn't nearly as long, not quite as many slides. During SCAG's most recent federal certification review, which was jointly conducted by the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Transit Administration, or FHWA and FTA, the region was found to meet federal requirements with one corrective action. The corrective action pertains to SCAG's role in the prioritization and selection of projects funded with congestion mitigation and air quality, or CMAQ, and surface transportation block grant, or STBG funds. SCAG, like other metropolitan planning organizations, or MPOs, across California, had been complying with the California Street and Highway Code that direct apportionment of CMAQ and STBG funds to the county transportation commissions, or CTCs. Following SCAG's bottoms-up transportation project selection process, CTCs in the SCAG region had held primary responsibility for programming CMAQ and STBG funds and had sole responsibility for selecting projects in the Federal Transportation Improvement Program, or FTIP. The certification review notes that federal legislation and regulations require that SCAG, in its role as the MPO, must select projects to be implemented using federal funds, including for CMAQ and STBG. In a nutshell, here's how the SCAG region is complying with the corrective action. First, SCAG will initiate a regional call for nominations. Then we will continue to rely on the 6 county transportation commissions, or CTCs, in the SCAG region for assistance in the process. In particular, we will rely on them for local outreach within their respective counties and with initial project screening against the SCAG developed selection criteria and identification of county level project prioritization. SCAG staff will then evaluate nominations against program criteria and recommend a list of projects for regional council approval. The full program guidelines are included in your packet. Through collaboration with the county transportation commissions, Caltrans, and our federal partners, SCAG has been able to reach some critical milestones over the past year in addressing the federal corrective action, which was issued last year. SCAG received positive feedback on our compliance action plan that was approved by this body in February. And subsequently submitted to Caltrans and the federal agencies. Simultaneously, SCAG staff has worked with County Transportation Commission staff and other partners to develop the draft CMAQ and STBG program guidelines to define the specifics of the new process. We recently presented the program guidelines to the County Transportation Commission CEOs, and based on that feedback, submitted the guidelines to Caltrans and the federal agencies for their consideration. As noted in the letter from Caltrans as part of the agenda packet, it meets federal requirements and guidance. Although the new project Selection process will be effective July 1st. That is the first of the next month. SCAG staff anticipates issuing a call for projects next year for inclusion in the 2025 FTIP. The suggested action is to approve for this part, obviously you're doing more votes than this, is to approve the STBG CMAC program guidelines and authorize the executive director to initiate the call for projects consistent with the approved guidelines. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions from the regional council? Do you have any public comments? Any of the locations?
No raised hands.
Okay. Who does? Mr. Anthony.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move that we adopt the recommendation 2 and 3 with the change from agenda item 1 and approve the consent calendar items.
Second.
Who seconded that?
Salacha Linwood.
Say Salachi? Salachi. So.
Mr. President, if I may, Member Anthony, you're referring to a change from item 1. I'm not sure that I.
Sorry, the addendum added,
Okay, that item's already been acted on, so
Great.
just 2 and 3 now,
just 2 and 3.
plus the
Just 2 and
consent
3.
calendar.
And the
Great.
consent calendar. Roll call, please.
Damon Alexander.
Here. Aye.
Cindy Helen. Aye. Valeria Mesqua.
Yes.
Adele Andrade Stadler.
Yes.
Constantine Anthony.
Yes.
Elizabeth Becerra.
Yes.
Gary Boyer.
Yes.
Art Brown.
Aye.
Wendy Bucknam.
Aye.
Margaret Clark. Jenny Crosswhite.
Aye.
Rick Dennison. Keith Ike.
Yes.
Margaret Finley.
Yes.
Claudia Fermetta. James Gaisley.
Aye.
Brian Goodell.
Aye.
Marshall Goodman.
Aye.
Kurt Hagman. Jan Harnick.
Yes.
Mark Henderson.
Yes.
Laura Hernandez.
Yes.
Mike Judge. Joe Kalmick.
Yes.
Trish Kelly.
Yes.
Kathleen Kelly.
Yes.
Lauren Clayman. Linda Krupa.
Yes.
Vianney Lopez.
Yes.
Clint Lorimore.
Aye.
Ken Mann.
Good man, yes.
Steve Manos.
Yes.
Ray Marquez.
Yes.
Andrew Maciel.
Yes.
Casey McKeon.
No.
Tim McOsker.
Yes.
Lauren Meister.
Yes.
Dennis Michael.
Yes.
Maricela Nava.
Yes.
Maria Nava Frolic.
Yes.
Oscar Ortiz.
Yes.
Luis Blancarte.
Yes.
Nithya Raman.
Yes.
Gil Rebollar.
Yes.
Rocky Rhodes.
Yes.
Celeste Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ali Saleh.
Yes.
Tim Sandoval.
Yes.
Andrew Sorega.
Yes.
Suli Sorrow.
Aye.
Zach Schwank.
Yes.
David Shapiro.
Yes.
Marty Simnoff.
Yes.
Jose Luis Solache.
Yes.
Donald Wagner.
Aye.
Alan Wapner.
Yes.
Frank Yokoyama.
Yes.
Mr. President, the motions for item 2, 3, and the consent calendar passes with 53 votes yes, 1 vote no, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you. We'll now have receive reports from the business representative, the president, and the executive director. Before we begin, do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on these 3 items?
Don't see any raised hands.
Okay. I'll ask for business representative, Regional Council Member Lucy Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just some quick items. My report is in writing at the end of the the SCAG agenda today, but since I wrote this, a few items just to bring to your attention from the business community. First, yeah, I'm sure you've seen in the news that State Farm has pulled out from issuing insurance policies for any new business plans, new construction. They will continue to stay in the state for existing homeowners, but with about 21% of the market share in California, this is a big hit. And there's a lot of talk about it being as a result of wildfires and inflation is one of the reasons why State Farm has left. The business community contends that it is a result of the way we're implementing Prop 103. Passed by the voters years ago, where the insurance commissioner has the ability to raise rates, but politics being politics, they won't raise rates because it just is not, one of the things that they want to do. And State Farm has tried to get them to match rate raises with their risk assessments from wildfires. Interesting, wildfires and climate change are issues in other states too, but they haven't pulled out of other states, just California. So the building industry continues to try to work with the insurance commissioner because it's going to impact all your good planning on housing if we can build houses, but you can't get fire insurance to protect them. So stay tuned on that. I know State Farm isn't the only company, but it's one of the biggest, and I think it's the most troubling. I also wanted to share with you, you may have seen in the press, Disneyland Resort is now going through the environmental process, the community outreach, and eventually through Anaheim City Council, through the Planning Commission, and then the council to invest $1 billion in creating a third park or a third gate in Anaheim. I raise this to you because Disneyland Resort, I believe, continues to be the state's #1 single site employer in all of California. And it draws employees from every one of the counties in the SCAG region. So as Disney invests here, there's some great economic investment that happens to all of us as a result. But no question, it will be contentious. And Anaheim has a good process I'm sure they're putting in place there. But I wanted to bring it to your attention because it's an economic development item. You may have also read as well that Disney has pulled back 2,000 jobs that they had sent from California to Florida because of all the Florida litigation that is happening between the administration in the governor's administration and Disney Resort there. And so those jobs have come back to California. They're not moving or they're relocating them back because Disney has decided to not invest $1 billion in Florida for an office project. So very interesting times in the business community here. Your business leaders throughout the state have sent in or are preparing to send in a very strong letter of support to the governor for his 11-point plan to advance and expedite transportation and infrastructure in California. It's including CEQA reform efforts for those. The business community notes that the legislature is not so far accepting trailer bills, but they want to go through a process. And the business community says, look, if you can't build these projects, we can't meet our climate change goals, we can't meet our energy objectives. So they're coming out very strongly in support of the governor's plan, and we'll see where that goes. The buzz is CEQA reform for housing is next. So we wanted to make sure that that's on your radar. The other item is Randall Lewis from Lewis Homes, great friend of SCAG and the longtime business representative, sent me a note today that to be very careful, really watch the office market, especially in some downtowns, is currently in a free fall. Major US and international companies are selling their offices at significant losses, or in some cases, just giving them back to the lenders. And Randall believes this should not have a big impact on most of our suburban cities in the SCAG region, but it may have some impact. So his advice to regional council would be to look to your staffs at your offices in your communities to see which ones might be vulnerable to financial turmoil. This could impact downtown retail and other factors, as well as loss of jobs. The potential bright side is that some of these suburban markets, these offices might be able to be raised and then redeveloped into either housing or other economically development, sustainable projects. But there's a lot of talk about high-rise office buildings being transferred into housing. Not going to happen. Way too hard, way too expensive. A couple projects maybe, but just be aware from the developer's point of view that that's a tough row to hoe. But keep an eye on the office market. Talk about, return to work and being in this room, but remote work is a real thing. And last but not least, I wanted to share with you, I get unclassified information from Joint Regional Intelligence Center and the Central California Intelligence Center. AI is all over the news, but just as elected officials, be very careful because artificial intelligence voice cloning is out there right now and capable of digitally replicating human voices for impersonation or deception, posing a great risk. So be very careful about voice impersonation used to bypass authentication for banking and security information, to spread political misinformation or create fake or misleading audio recordings. And there's been examples recently in April of 2023 and in February 2023 on false kidnappings, bomb threats, and grandparents scams. So keep an eye on with your staff on artificial intelligence and voice impersonation. It's a real thing. And with that, I'll put all of this in writing with links for you and send it to Maggie for her excellent minutes so that you can, if you need additional information, I'm happy to get it for you. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Okay, President's report. I'd like to welcome the following new regional council members. Damon Alexander from San Bernardino, Regional Council District 7. Rick Dennison, Yucca Valley, District 11. Jonathan Demetru, or City of Orange, District 17. Celeste Rodriguez, San Fernando, District 67. Andrew Sariga, La Mirada, District 31. And Sule Sorrow, Long Beach, District 29. This is giving them all a nice big welcome. Been working hard to get a setup this year for several committee appointments that have been made. They'll be displayed on the AV screen. First up are my appointments to the Emerging Technologies Committee. Please welcome the new and returning members whose names appear on the slide. I've made a number of appointments to the Legislative Communications and Membership Committee. Let's welcome those new and returning members. Oh, Kurt Hagman. Oh. There's also appointments to the Executive and Administrative Committee. Yes. So what? Mr. Wapner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just if you can correct the emerging technology, I represent San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, not Colton.
Okay, we'll make that change. Also, did I turn that off again? A recap of SCAG's 58th Annual Regional Conference and General Assembly. We held that last month and it was a great success. We sold more tickets and brought in more sponsors and sponsorship dollars and generated more media coverage than in past years. The details can be found in the staff report to the Legislative Communications Membership Committee in May. It was great to see many of you there and we hope that you enjoyed the program. which was intended to gear us up for looking to connect the connects, like looking ahead to connect SoCal 2024 this coming fall. That's gonna be a lot of fun for all the RC members. SCAG scholarship recognition. One of the highlights of last month's General Assembly was approval of our annual scholarship awards. We have most of our scholarship recipients here today. As a special guest, I'd like to recognize them. Vivian Espinoza from UC San Diego. Angela Delgadillo from San Diego State University. Vivica Sanchez, UC San Diego. Yazuna Kundo from UCLA, great school. Gabrielle Navarro, UCLA. Kaylin Na from UCLA. And Gabriella Parra from McAllister College. Are any of the young ladies here? More names than this school. Nolan A. Sanchez from UC Berkeley and Matthew Walker from Cal Poly Pomona. Let's congratulate all those scholarship awardees. On May 20th, Director Ajisi and Regional Council members Sueli Sorrell, Mark Henderson, and I attended a workshop in Long Beach on May 20th. It was hosted by SCAG and the California Department of Technology and the California Public Utilities Commission. The purpose of this workshop was to gather input on development of the state's digital equity plan and the broadband equity access and deployment 5-year action plan. I'd like to say there was a great meeting and some of the most engaged citizens I've seen in a long time at that meeting. They had a lot of great ideas and produced a lot of product for the committees. The next regional council meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 6th, 2023 at 12 p.m. right here. And I'd like to call on our Executive Director, Komi Asiji, for his update.
Thank you, Mr. President. And by the way, congratulations on your first meeting.
Yes.
I also want to welcome all the new members. Glad to have you all here. Looking forward to working with you and working together on behalf of the region. I just want to take a step back and acknowledge the approvals that the RC just made on those action items. They're pretty significant in terms of the amendment, the third amendment to the to Connect SoCal 2020. With 215 project changes that are included. Those were held because we had been on lockdown, and we'd worked very seriously over the last 2 years with multiple agencies, incredible staff work at the regional, around the region with commission members, commission staff, county commission staff, federal agencies, federal highways, federal transit, as well as Air Resources Board. So multi-agency involvement, Air District, the EPA, that led us to this point. And really what I wanted to just highlight is the significance of us being able to move forward with these projects that have regional significance. There was an opportunity to add 22 new projects in the process with over 180 project changes, as well as 7 deletions. So these were all things that were wrapped up in that approval that you just did. And it was a culmination of work over the last 2 years at staff and agency level. So I just want to make sure we don't take that from staff perspective. And thank you. We don't take your approval for granted, because it was absolutely necessary to move things forward. In terms of my update, we just wrapped up the public outreach process for Connect SoCal 2024. In the process over the last 2 months, we held about 14 in-person meetings with input from stakeholders and members of the public. We had 7 virtual workshops that also expanded our capacity to reach more folks that could not make in-person meetings. And we also had the opportunity to be at 6 different community events, which were always rich in input, because that's us going to where people really are and the opportunity to have them participate in adding to the development of the plan was important. There's still a brief survey online at connectsocal.org that folks can go and add their input. We'll take input all the way through June 4th. We want you to continue to share that information with your constituents as much as you can. We will bring a highlight and findings of this outreach back to the Regional Council next month. And we'll also be asking the EAC and the Regional Council to approve an update to the Connect SoCal Policy Development Framework based on the feedback that we got back in May from the various policy committees. There is a RENA update reform process that's going on right now. And this is really because of state statute that requires it, with the intent that the California Housing and Community Development Agency Department will be providing a set of RENA reform recommendations to the legislature by the end of this year. December 31st is the mandate under state statute. Given that process that's going on by the state, we at SCAG are also working to collate our recommendations to provide input into that state process. SCAG is seeking input from jurisdictions and stakeholders on what we have as a draft RENA reform set of recommendations. And we're doing that through some surveys. We're doing outreach. We've talked about this, I think, at the policy committee level. And there is a listening session that's scheduled for the 22nd of June to further add to the input that we will collate. The draft recommendations that we're putting together, the survey, and registration for the listening session can also be seen online at our website at scag.ca.gov/RHNA, scag.ca.gov/RENA. And also you may have heard that we've been working on the green print. There is a technical advisory committee that's been put together. Right now, we are just trying to make sure we have adequate regional representation in the membership. We've gotten most of the members in place. There are a few more that we're finalizing. And once we finalize the membership, there will be meetings scheduled for the TAC to meet, and the TAC will be informing the development of the regional, of the green print tool. And that work will ensue in the summer, and hopefully we'll be back to reporting to both the policy committees and the regional council on progress on the green print. We held here in this room on May 8th a listening session with the Secretary of Transportation, Mr. Tokso Mishaki. It was a listening session with regional transit agencies on the issues that the transit agencies face in terms of the economy, workforce development, transition to zero emissions, and especially the funding needs of transit agencies. It was a robust conversation, and there was some advocacy involved with the California Transit Association, and that package of recommendations of what would help transit agencies across our region and across the state have been presented in Sacramento to the governor and to the state legislators in terms of what could come out in state policy, specifically budget policy, to assist our transit agencies get over the hump they're going through right now. We also, I participated in the inaugural meeting of the Los Angeles County Affordable Housing Solutions Agency, La Casa, on May 17th. The agency is a result of SB 679 that formed this housing affordability solutions agency to deal with housing affordability in Los Angeles County specifically. They're members of our body that are also co-members of that agency. And as things develop with that agency, we'll report back to you on what opportunities might be transferable across the region that come out of La Casa in LA County. Also had a chance to participate at the Economic Summit with the 88 cities in LA County to talk about the issues around homelessness and clean technology and digital divide. That was last week on Monday. And then lastly, At the TC today, you would have seen a presentation on some aspects of our last mile freight program. This is a significant program for us because it speaks to a number of threads that that this body, this regional council has approved over time. We have some updates on that item related to the last mile freight program. The new the new advanced clean fleet rules require that registered trucks be zero emissions by 2035. This has serious implications across tens of thousands of container trucks that operate today in the SCAG region. And that was raised actually during our conversation at the Transportation Committee this morning. And many of these are owned by small businesses. In alignment with SCAG's Goods Movement Supply Chain Resolution, which the Regional Council adopted, a partnership with the Mobile Source group over at the Air District is helping us to fund this transition to near zero and zero emission trucks and infrastructure. So what I'd like to do, if I could crave your indulgence, is to play a little video of some of these projects that we've done. We have expended about just almost $17 million across multiple small and big businesses. I think about half of the businesses involved are small businesses, and hopefully you could see they're about. I think the one we're going to show is a larger business, so I don't want that to color your impression about the program. We're going to show a video about Cisco, which is the largest food manufacturing company in the world, and they've committed to this, and we work with them on this. But more than half of the resources went to smaller agencies as well. So I just want to share this video as an example of the work that we've done because of the approvals that we've gotten from Regional Council on the last mile freight program. Roll video, please.
As the largest food service distributor in the world, with one of the largest private fleets, Cisco has taken a leading role in addressing climate change and driving the future of sustainability for our industry. We're taking action now, not leaving the climate crisis for the next generation of leaders to solve. Cisco's ambitious science-based climate goal will reduce our operational emissions by 27.5% by 2030. To achieve this, we're investing in our planet by adding nearly 2,800 electric vehicles to our U.S. fleet and sourcing 100% of renewable energy. We're leading by example and elevating the industry, but we can't do it alone. This level of change requires innovation and strong partnerships to drive the equipment and technology required for our industry. After years of planning and steady progress, we can now see the changes happening. Our words turned into actions, and our vision is becoming reality. Cisco's first battery electric tractors are rolling off the line and making deliveries to customers. But it doesn't stop there. Electrification requires investment in the infrastructure to charge these vehicles consistently and reliably, and renewable energy to drive change in a way that benefits the planet. Once complete, Cisco's Riverside site will have 40 electric tractors, 5 hybrid electric trailers, 40 dual-port charging stations, 1.5 megawatt of solar, 4.2 megawatt hours of battery storage. We're so proud of our Riverside team. They're paving the way for the rest of the company as Cisco's first location to electrify a large portion of their fleet. This progress is possible because of the collaborative effort and innovation of our vendor and community partners and government officials who share the same goal: building a sustainable future and protecting our one and only planet for future generations to thrive.
Thank you. Before I wrap my comment, I just want to remind those members that are also members of the AQMD that the briefing will be across the hall immediately after this meeting.
Okay. Anybody have any future agenda items, either in the audience or online? Seeing none. Any announcements? I'm so happy to see so many smiling faces here today. I hope some of those online will come up to the next meeting. It's much nicer to be here in person and interact with human beings instead of a small picture on a screen. We saw what it did to our kids during COVID, not having interaction with people. It's detrimental to the human being. So let's come on down and have a good time here at the meeting. With that, we are adjourned.